Cleopatra VII was born into a kingdom trembling on the edge of collapse. Her father, Ptolemy XII, ruled Egypt with the desperation of a man who knew his throne could vanish with a single whisper. He pawned Egypt's gold, drained its wealth, and bargained with foreign powers just to cling to power for one more day. And in the middle of all this uncertainty, in 69 BC, Cleopatra entered the world in Alexandria. A city of marble and libraries, of temples and politics, where Greek culture blended with Egyptian tradition. A city loud with merchants, scholars, spies, and sailors. A city that would shape her into something extraordinary. Even as a child, Cleopatra was different. Where others sought comfort, she sought knowledge. Where other royals hid behind luxury, she watched the world with sharp, questioning eyes. She learned languages, many of them. She studied philosophy, governance, astronomy, and medicine. Her tutors read her epic poetry, but Cleopatra listened to the rhythm of real power, the rise and fall of kingdoms. She absorbed every lesson like someone who already sensed she would one day need them. By 14, she was advising her father. By 18, he was gone. And Cleopatra stepped forward to claim Egypt with a steadiness that surprised even her enemies. But her throne was not secure. Rival factions grew bold, famine spread, and Rome, mighty, restless Rome, was pressing at Egypt's borders. Cleopatra stood alone in a moment where one wrong choice could erase her name forever. Then Julius Caesar arrived. He came to Alexandria older, seasoned, and carrying the authority of a man who had conquered nations. But Cleopatra did not shrink before him. She understood what he valued: intellect, strategy, and courage. And she had all three. The story says she entered his presence rolled inside a carpet so she could meet him in private. Whether legend or truth, the moment captures who she was: fearless, theatrical, and determined to seize opportunity rather than wait. Caesar saw her potential instantly. She saw in him a path to stabilizing Egypt. Their alliance became a partnership, and their partnership became something deeper. She bore him a son, Caesar Ion, a future symbol of a new era that Rome was not ready to accept. Then everything changed. On the Ides of March, Caesar fell beneath the knives of his enemies. The world shifted again. Cleopatra fled back to Egypt, carrying both sorrow and new purpose. She would rule, and she would protect the child she believed bore the blood of two worlds. But fate was not finished with her. Mark Antony entered her life next, a Roman general known for his victories, his laughter, his indulgence, and his enormous charisma. He was powerful, but also wounded by grief and politics. Cleopatra met him on her own terms, arriving with a radiant display of wealth and grace that stunned his court. They became allies. They became lovers. And together, they dreamed bigger than Rome would tolerate. Cleopatra gave birth to twins, and with Antony, she began shaping a vision of a restored Egyptian power, one that could stand beside Rome, not beneath it. Their bond terrified Octavian, Caesar's adopted son and Antony's political rival. And so he launched a war not only of armies, but of reputation. He painted Cleopatra as a manipulator, a temptress, a foreign danger. She responded with her own accusations, calling him deceitful and weak. Their conflict grew into a storm that would decide the future of the ancient world. The climax came at the Battle of Actium. Cleopatra and Antony faced Rome's massive fleet on the open sea. The winds, the strategy, and perhaps fate itself turned against them. When retreat became the only option, Cleopatra sailed for Egypt. Antony followed, and Rome followed after him. Their world was collapsing. When Antony fell by his own hand, misled into believing Cleopatra had already died, she saw the last light of her life dim. Octavian wanted her alive, paraded in chains through Rome, humiliated for the entertainment of the crowds. Cleopatra refused. She chose her ending as she had lived her life, with intention, dignity, and defiance. Legend tells us she allowed an asp to bite her, its venom delivering what no enemy ever could, a peaceful escape on her own terms. She was 39. With her death, the great line of the pharaohs ended. Egypt became a Roman province. But Cleopatra's story did not fade. It grew. It transformed. It whispered through centuries as the tale of a woman who refused to bow to the world that tried to cage her. 2,000 years later, we still speak her name. Not because of her beauty, those stories love to exaggerate it, but because of her mind, her will, her fearless decisions, and the impossible tightrope she walked between empires. Cleopatra has become more than a queen. She is a symbol of complexity, power, and the price of ambition. And even now, the world is still trying to understand her.